I am going to start the recording of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a file, a PDF of the PowerPoint that I'm going to be sharing out with you. I'll be sure to hopefully make sure that I remember to do this again at the end of the presentation. So this is only going to be a 30-minute presentation, so I'm going to get started. Let me share my screen so we can get this ball rolling. And again, this is a very short presentation. It's a little 30-minute how-to. And almost all of my sessions that I'm going to be doing for Convocation, I almost said Comic-Con, Convocation are based off of the needs that I've come across with my one-on-one consultations with staff and faculty. And one of the issues that I've noticed that faculty and staff are coming across is that Canvas, they're running out of space in Canvas. And, you know, their PowerPoints were just taking up a lot of the space that was available in their Canvas course. So I created this session on how to minimize a PowerPoint in 3 easy different ways. So I'm going to walk us through this. Just to give a short introduction, my name is Mallory Alvarez. I am the Canvas and Tech Instructional Technology Support for faculty and staff. I work with the Teaching Learning Center department. My department chair is Julie McDevitt, and I have my contact information listed, an email and number, and this information is going to be presented again at the end of the PowerPoint. Just some norms, please make sure to mute your mic. Please use a chat box for any questions. Your questions will be addressed throughout the presentation. This one's going to be a very short one. This one's only 30 minutes. So I'm going to make sure that I can get all of this information addressed. Please make sure your name is reflected in the Zoom meeting. I'm going to be saving all of the chat questions. If you need to change your name, you're going to click on Manage Participants, and you're going to click on your name, and you're going to be given an option to retype to make sure that your name is reflected. And again, this meeting is already is going to be recorded, and this recording will be uploaded into our YouTube TLC channel. Okay, so let's get started. So I have right here kind of a little agenda that's divvied up on all the different ways and how we're going to minimize the size of a file in a PowerPoint. So I'm talking about removing videos, I'm talking about compressed images, and I'm going to talk about linking versus embedding. And then I'm hoping to save some time for a Q&A afterwards. So I'm going to go through this. This is going to be our agenda. Now, the reason why this is a need is because file size in Canvas is limited. In your Canvas, you are only given, and this is created by district, you're given 500 megabytes. So think of 500 megabytes as equivalent to 302 images. And in case you're wondering, well, what's the file size on my Canvas that I've already created? How do I check to make sure I'm not going over, or how do I know to monitor myself? Well, here's a little screenshot. What you would do is you would go into your Canvas, you would click on Settings, and when you click on Settings, at the very bottom of your Canvas page, under Settings, you would see the words File Storage. Now, I took a screenshot of an empty Canvas, so that's why you're going to see my file storage set at 500 megabytes. So that's how you can kind of check in with yourself to make sure to see what your storage availability is in your Canvas. So file size is limited. So you only get 500 megabytes. So the whole reason why we're doing this is to make sure that our PowerPoints aren't eating up that file size. So think of 1 megabyte can be broken down into kilobytes. And I kind of wrote down all this information here because the PowerPoint that I'm going to be using as an example, my PowerPoint is set at 4,012, kilobytes here. And so that does eat up a lot of my canvas space, and it's only one PowerPoint. So this one PowerPoint that I'm using as an example contains images, has 3 embedded videos, and is made up of 21 slides. So this is the file size that I'm starting off with in the that I'm going to be using for today's example. If you're wondering, well, what's the size of the file points for the PowerPoints I've already created? Well, a great way to check that is by opening your file, and under this tab is View. So when you open up any file in your computer, there is a tab called View, and you can choose the word Details. And when you choose the word Details, it then gives you the date it was added or modified, and then it tells you the size of the file right here. So that's a great way that you can check the file size on any PowerPoints that you've already created for some of your Canvas courses. In case you were kind of curious, like, do I need to reduce some of these PowerPoints I've already created? So step 1, no videos. Do not add embedded videos into your PowerPoint. So what you can do is that any videos that you've embedded into a PowerPoint can be replaced using YouTube links. Now, because I want to make sure that I'm not going over on time, I'm not going to play this video, but in the PDF that you downloaded from the chat box, you can play this video and you would see me open up my PowerPoint that I was using as an example, and you would see me remove the embedded videos and replace them with YouTube links. Once I removed my 3 videos, it was a drastic size. It went from 4,000 and 412,000, and it dropped down to 14,000. So this first step reduced the file size drastically, because any embedded videos inside your PowerPoint eat up a lot of space. So moving on. Step 2, compressing images. Now, compressing images can help reduce the file size in your PowerPoint. These are the steps that are going to be played for you in this YouTube link. I'm going to click on a picture. I'm going to click the Format tab. I'm going to select Compress Pictures. I'm going to check Apply. I'm going to uncheck Apply only to this picture, and then I'm going to select Use Default Resolution and press OK. So all these steps right here, I'm going to play for you in this YouTube video.
The second way to reduce the size of your PowerPoint is by compressing all the images that you've included inside your PowerPoint. Before I begin, I want you to see how the PowerPoint looks before we compress the images. And then I'm going to give you the same view after we compress the images, so that way you can kind of get a really good idea on how the compressed images really don't change the aesthetics of the PowerPoint. In order to compress the images, you need to select any of the images you've included in your PowerPoint. So I'm going to click on this image here, and right away the Format tab will appear on your toolbox. So if I click away from the picture, there is no tab. When I click on the picture, it now becomes available. So I'll make this selection, and right here you're going to see the words Compress Pictures. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm given some options here to look at. So I'm going to make sure I uncheck Apply only to this picture, because I want this to apply to all the pictures throughout the PowerPoint. And then I'm going to select the email resolution size, which is really good for document sharing. And it's also the most compressed form out of all the resolutions to choose from. So after I make those 2 adjustments, I'm going to click OK. I'm going to save as Healthy Living YouTube Links and Compressed Images. Click Save. And when I go back to look at the file size, I can see that it's greatly reduced. So little by little, we are definitely bringing down the size of the PowerPoint.
Let's see. Okay, so as I viewed the video, I realized I did not replay for you the image of the PowerPoint on what it looks like after an image is compressed. I don't know, I guess I put the wrong recording in there, so I do apologize for that. But for just to clarify, when you compress an image in a PowerPoint, the images do not change. And in fact, I can pull up the, let's see, let me find it real quick. Where is it? This is why I have the recording, so that way I don't have the, here it is. So this is the PowerPoint that I created with the compressed images. And if we viewed this, you could see that the compressed images, they don't look any different than what they were before I compressed them. So when you compress an image, that image still looks the same. It's just compressing the file size or the file, the amount of size that's eating up in your PowerPoint. So just keep that in mind. Let me go back to where we were. Sorry about that. Okay, so then the third step that you can do is that you can replace all the images that you attached in your PowerPoint. Those are automatically embedded. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that you can insert an image by linking it. Before I get into that, I want to point out that there's a difference between linking an image versus embedding an image. Whenever you insert an image in a PowerPoint, it automatically embeds into the PowerPoint. So the advantage of having an image that's embedded is that it's now stored in your PowerPoint. So if you decided to delete that image from your computer, it's not going to be disrupted. It's still going to be in your PowerPoint. The disadvantage is that when you embed images, it increases the file size in a PowerPoint. Linked images is that it's linked to the computer file, and any edits that you made to that saved, sorry, let me back up again. I've been presenting all day today, so I'm a little tongue-tied. So one of the big advantages of a LinkedIn image is that any adjustments that you make to that image in your computer, so you open up the file and you decide to edit this image, you crop the image, well, guess what? All those changes you made in your computer file are now going to be reflected in your PowerPoint. So you don't have to go back into your PowerPoint and make changes to that image because it's already going to be transitioned because it's linked, they're connected. The disadvantage of having a linked image is that if you delete that file from your computer, if you decide to move that image into a new file, you decide to change it, well, when you make those changes to that file, that link is broken. And now that image is not going to be reflected in your PowerPoint. So LinkedIn image is that it's linked to that file, and that file image is linked into the PowerPoint. So yes, it does save space, but keep in mind, once you've linked that image, you cannot go in and delete the image, move the image to a different file in your computer, because then that's going to disrupt that link and it's going to be broken. And now students are going to be like, I don't see a picture. What picture? So I'm going to play a YouTube video. But before I do that, let me address one of these questions. So we have From Joseph, what if we have a PowerPoint file in Canvas, stay unpublished to students the same space? I don't know what you mean by unpublished, but any of these adjustments that you would make, they would have to be made in the PowerPoint that you are deciding to add in your Canvas. So if you already added a PowerPoint in Canvas, you just need to open up that PowerPoint, make those edits, click save, and it should be updated. So hopefully that answered your question.
I think she's talking about publishing the page in Canvas that the PowerPoint's on.
Oh, okay. So even if it's unpublished, it's still taking up space in your Canvas. So a file is a file. A file comes with a file that eats up your space regardless, whether if the student can see it or not. It's still going to eat away from that 500 megabytes that you're given.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Mallory,
so
did you start at 3:30? I think you got started early. Some people are just coming in because the schedule said 3:30, the convocation schedule.
Did it? Okay, so I was, when I looked in the Alma Talent, I saw 3:15. So if
Can you just put your PowerPoint back? Can you put your PDF
yeah, definitely.
back in the chat right now?
So I apologize. I thought it was at 3:15. So for those of you who are just joining us, let me send out the PDF again. And I will be sharing out this recording of the Zoom session. So I do apologize for starting too soon. I thought I was given from 3:15 to, I guess I read that schedule incorrect. I'm so sorry. So for those of you who are just joining us, I just sent out a PDF in the chat. Feel free to double click on this chat. All the information that I've been covering so far can be seen in this PowerPoint. All the links that I've been playing can be viewed in that PDF that I did send. When I pull the email list from the Zoom report, I'm going to be, again, sending out an email that's going to include the recording of this session, and it's going to be through a YouTube link, and I will also include this PDF as well. So I do apologize for that. I don't know why I was under the impression.
I think we can just ask this, or you can do this presentation maybe next week or the week after too. I mean, we can repeat these sessions now that you've created them all.
This is true. So we're on, for those of you who are joining us, we're on step 3, linking an image. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play this little YouTube video of me going in and showing you the difference between inserting a linked image versus just inserting an embedded image. And again, an embedded image is something that automatically happens anytime you insert an image in a PowerPoint. So I'm going to push play. And for those of you who are joining, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box.
Another great way of reducing the file size of your PowerPoint is to link any images that you insert into your PowerPoint. So here are the steps that you would need to follow. First, I'm going to click on one of the images I have inserted. I'm going to delete this image, and now I'm going to insert this image by linking the file. So I'm going to find the same picture that I have saved into my computer. When I click on this image, I'm going to go right here in the insert box, and I'm going to click link to file. And now I'll have the image inserted, and I will place it exactly where I have it. Now I'm going to go through and replace all the images that I have added into this PowerPoint the exact same way. Now that I have gone in and replaced all of my images, when I go back and save this PowerPoint, I should see a new update on the file size. As you can see, the new file size has gone down significantly.
Okay, so that was just a very short little YouTube link that showed how a simple adjustment of inserting an image can definitely reduce the file size. And what I did was, throughout the PowerPoint that we began with had taken up a lot of file size. And now that we inserted these 3 steps, we have drastically reduced the size of this PowerPoint, which is going to be really great. So that way you're not having to feel, you don't have to worry about, do I have enough space in my Canvas? I have a lot of images. I don't want to eat up all this file size. So just so you know, these 3 easy steps can really help reduce the size of your file without having to delete any great information that you've designed for your students. So again, for the recap, we realized that embedding any videos in a PowerPoint eats up a lot of space, that it's best to just put a YouTube link. The second was to compress all your images, and when you do, it does not change the aesthetics of your PowerPoint. And then the third one, which is replace all embedded videos. Oops, I put videos instead of images, to replace all embedded images with image links. Now, if you did not save your images that you used originally to when you created your PowerPoint, you might have some issues replacing them. You're gonna probably have to go online and find a new image to replace that one if you did not save the image to your computer originally. So that's gonna be, that might be problematic for some PowerPoints. But if you at least follow some of these steps, it should definitely reduce the file size. And any new PowerPoints that you create in the future will definitely follow those steps, so that way it's not going to be eating up so much space. So right now I wanted to set some time here to answer some questions. I have a question that says, if you put a PowerPoint on a public site, are there security issues? Could someone follow that link to your computer? That is more of an IT support. I don't know if someone would be able to look at the coding and see the link to a filed image. I think that would be a great question for the IT support. They would know more about the coding side. So I'm unable to answer that if you're putting it on a public site. That would be an IT support question. So I know that wasn't an answer, sorry, Linda, but that's a really great question. So I would check in with IT support and see if any LinkedIn images on public sites, if they can be, hacked back to your computer, because that is a great question. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna unmute everyone's mics just real quick. Stop my share. All right, so do we have any other questions about some information? I do apologize, I had started at 3:15 instead of 3:30. I will be sure to just attach that PDF one more time, just in case I might have missed anybody, so that can be accessed. Were there any other questions that anyone had for me?
Maybe you should go back and show a couple of the first slides for those that came in late. I don't know.
Yes, most definitely.
Maybe I didn't provide enough wait time for people to ask questions.
Let me do that. That's a great idea. So push play here. So this is pretty much the beginning portions of the slide that I went over. And here was the agenda. And it was a very short presentation. And the first thing I did was I discussed, where anyone can go to check in their Canvas to see what the file size is. So if you're wondering, well, how much space is my Canvas, the files in my Canvas taking up? A great way to do that is by going into your Canvas, clicking on settings, and then in your settings, at the very bottom of the screen, you would see the file storage. And this screenshot is reflecting an empty Canvas shell. But for those of you who've already created Canvas courses, you can check to see the file storage availability by going into your settings. Just want to make sure.
I know. That's exactly what I told him.
All right, and then another thing that we discussed was how the file size is limited, and I broke down what 500 megabytes looks like and what is available to you. And then I introduced the PowerPoint that I was going to be minimizing, and I stated the file size of this PowerPoint. And I stated that it was made of 33 images, 3 embedded videos, and 21 slides. So that way you guys got a really good idea of what example I was using to do this, to reduce the file size. And then I presented a way for people to go in and view the file size of their own PowerPoints. So at home on your computer, you can click on File, and then you have a View tab at the very top of your file. So when you click on Open a File, and you click on View, and then you would select Details. And what that's going to do, it's going to give you the date of when that information was modified, and it's also going to give you the size of the PowerPoint. So that's another great thing that you can do to kind of check to see, well, are my PowerPoints, are they taking up a lot of space? And then the first step that we went through was about videos. No videos. Any video that you embedded in your YouTube is going to eat up a lot of space. And what I did was I created a YouTube link that walks through removing those embedded videos and replacing them with YouTube links. So I see that we have some items lighting up in the chat box. So let me take a look here. Julie, were there any questions that seemed that needed some of my clarification, or?
Did you look at the chat?
Yes. Does it save more space to link images or YouTube videos directly to a Canvas page instead of adding it to a PowerPoint? So when it comes to linking a YouTube video, when you copy and paste a YouTube link, kind of like what I have here, that doesn't have any file size. It's a link. So whether you decide to have it in your PowerPoint or whether you decide to have it inside the Canvas, like in the text box, that's mostly a preference of how you want to present, in what order you want to present that information. So that's not going to change anything. Any linked images, I don't believe Canvas allows you to link an image. It's going to only allow you to upload an image. So that's going to take up more space. And again, that depends on how, in what order you want to present an image. So if you want an image on your home page, then that really doesn't have anything to do with the PowerPoint. But if you have a series of images that you want to be presented with text to kind of support that image, then you're going to want it in a PowerPoint, and then you're going to have the availability to link it. Canvas doesn't allow you to choose to attach an image by embedding or attach by linking. That option really isn't available for you in the chat box. So if you have a series of images, I would recommend that you do a little PowerPoint of those images, so that way it's not going to eat up file size, because if you do it straight into Canvas, your file size is going to be eaten up and you're not going to have the ability to adjust a linked image versus an embedded image. It's automatically going to be embedded if you go straight to Canvas. So that's a really good question. Awesome. Okay, so this was a step one that I kind of, most of you might have missed because I accidentally started at 3:15 instead of 3:30. Do apologize for that, but we just talked about how embedded videos take up a lot of space, and I have a little YouTube video here that pantomimes me going into a PowerPoint and deleting the embedded videos and replacing it with the YouTube link. And right here below, it shows that my original file size for my PowerPoint has been reduced drastically, because videos in a PowerPoint take up a lot of space, especially if it's not a YouTube link. And then the second step, which I think most of everybody kind of came in, the second step was about compressing images. And these were the steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that are walked through in the YouTube link that I created. So in the YouTube link, I played out live of me clicking on an image and me compressing that image. And I even showed how, even though a PowerPoint image is compressed, it doesn't change the aesthetics of a PowerPoint. So what I can do is I can actually pull up that PowerPoint. So this PowerPoint, doesn't have any compressed images. So these images are not compressed. That looks really good. Now this PowerPoint has the compressed images. You can see that there's really no difference between a compressed image versus non-compressed. It's going to look exactly the same. The only difference is the file size that it takes up. So that was just something I wanted to point out. And in this video, I click into that PowerPoint and I select an image and I walk through the steps of compressing that in a PowerPoint. And again, it doesn't change the overall look. And then I think step 3, everyone was pretty much already logged in by the time I hit step 3. And step 3, again, linked versus embed. What's the difference? What are some advantages of having an embedded image? And I think we discussed that any changes that you make to the image on your computer, so if you delete a file of a bunch of images, if you edit that file, you decide to, oh, I'm going to put this in my Google Drive, or I'm going to move it to this file, it's not going to affect the images that you posted in your PowerPoint because they were embedded. The only disadvantage is that it increases the file size of a PowerPoint. And then I discussed LinkedIn images. The advantage is that it doesn't take up anywhere near the same amount of space. And the disadvantage is that if you manipulate that image on your computer, you delete it, you put it into a different file, anything that you do can break that link. And now that image is not seen in your PowerPoint. So that's kind of like the disadvantage of adding an image by linking. And then here were the steps that you would go through to link. And then this was the little YouTube video, real short little video that I played that shows how a simple adjustment can now have the image linked in. And then again, at the very bottom here, the PowerPoint that we started off with, the file size has been drastically cut. And these little steps here can really make a big difference when it comes to the amount of space that's available for you in your campus. All right, so that pretty much was the recap of the steps that we went through. A very short PowerPoint, and if you've already made your PowerPoints, you would just have to go back and make some editings and resave it. But these steps are some really great things for you to consider for any future PowerPoints that you plan on creating for your students. And again, if you need to reach out for any questions, please email me. Please feel free to use the You Can Book Me link. If you click on this link right here, what you're able to do is you're able to select a 30-minute time frame. And then what you would see is you would see my availability throughout the day, and you would click a time. And anytime that's blocked out, it lets you know that I'm not available at those given time frames. So feel free to do that, and it's going to set up some one-on-one time with me. I will get that notified to my email. I just thought it's a really great way to streamline that process of, when are you available? I'm on this day. What about this day? So that kind of gets rid of all that extra traffic. So you can do the You Can Book Me link. And this is also found whenever you email me, my email signature also contains this link as well. So there are different ways on how you can get a hold of me. So I will send again that file, because I know there was some request. So I will send it just one more time in the little chat box here. So if anyone has any questions, the floor is available. It's around 3:51. This session is going to be officially over at 4 o'clock. So if any of you have any questions.
I have one, Mallory. This is May, but I'm
Hey,
going
how's it going?
Hi, I'm going to save it for the advanced Zoom class because I think it relates more to recording sizes for Zoom than for PowerPoint. So I'll wait.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
most definitely. I'm glad. I'll be looking forward to seeing you.
Okay,
So thank you so much for those of you who tuned in. I do have other convocation sessions. Feel free to join those in Alamo Talent. I'm going to have an advanced Zoom class. And if you're unable, if you're worried about, oh, there's some time, conflicts, please know that all my sessions will be recorded. And if we see that there's a really great popularity of a certain session, we're definitely going to be presenting on different days. So that way you guys will have a chance to view a session that, could be available on a different day for next week. So thank you very much. Please reach out to me if you need anything, and have a great week. Hope to see some of you in my other convocation sessions. So thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job, Mallory. It seems like that's a good topic. I think we can redo this one, and it's short.
I think TLC has done a fabulous job.
Aw.
Thank
Thanks, Alba.
We had great leadership. Makes a big
Oh.
difference.
We have good people. I mean, they just, get things done. So I appreciate that.
I see El Colegio behind you, El Primo. Sirena, what
La prima. Where's La prima?
happened to they cut her off up there,
They did. Girl power.
down there below you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Julie and Amanda. You guys have been lifesavers.
Sorry, I was in and out. Did you see the rabbit in the picture a second ago? I didn't know
No,
that
I
happened.
didn't. I missed it. Let me
Julie, I
see.
texted you. I just said, OMG, rabbit.
Look at this little rabbit. Isn't it cute?
You know,
Oops,
my
like 5 million
I
times.
sketched out. I'm gonna be sketching out what is it? One of my next paintings is gonna be a rabbit.
Yes.
I just
I love
looked up.
this little pet. You guys need one.
Oh.
They're like easy maintenance, except they're, unlike trying to train a dog that has gigantic turds, these are just like tiny little poops that are hard. I went in Christy's room yesterday. There was hay like all over the floor. It looked like a barn in her room.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
my grandpa had rabbits, but they weren't bunnies, they were rabbits, and they weren't for petting.
Yeah. Thomas says in the chat that he had rabbits growing up.
Yeah,
This
that's why when
guy
I
is so
was
tame.
I had my grandpa had some property out in La Soya, and so when we're doing that virtual tour of the farm, I was like, cabrito, chicharron. I was like, wow, I was like thinking of my grandpa because he cleaned it right in front of us. So that kind of ruined the petting zoo for me as a child because I saw the process. He would take them out to the shed. Sorry.
So
Amanda.
you had,
okay.
how did your 1 o'clock go? And then I want to hear how Amanda's rubric thing went.
Oh, my 1 o'clock, I kind of had like a little bit of a weird start because I started my Zoom meeting and I was like, where is everyone? I'm the only one here, and it's like 3 minutes. And so I had to like exit out of my Zoom session because Amanda told me, it says that you're in a Zoom meeting. And I was like, that's weird. So let me exit out, let me log out, now let me log back in. And when I logged in, I saw all these people. So at first I was like nervous. I was like, I got stood up at the prom, you know?
No, you got to make a dramatic entrance. That's good.
Yes. No, it was,
Yeah.
she did great. It was great.
Good.
Yes.
Well, you know, we have 2 more presentations this afternoon, this evening.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
gonna,
remembered.
yeah. Well, at least it's not gonna be a whole hour of me talking, and I had to just, I think I minimized my thumbnail because I'm like, just don't look at yourself. Just look into the little
Hey,
dot.
stop the recording. We're recording ourselves.
Oh, we are. How funny. It's okay. I can trim it.